What is up guys, it's Simon from PianoPig.com, and in this video I want to show you some ways in which you can take some boring major and minor triads and transform them into much more emotional sounding chords that really hit the soul a little bit more and just don't sound so dull and boring. If you like this video and all the other stuff that I do on this channel, make sure you go and check out the PianoPig Academy, where you can find all sorts of extra content, videos, instructions, all of that good stuff that's really going to help you get going on your piano journey. So let's get started. So in order to transform those boring triads into much more emotional sounding chords, we're going to learn a couple of tricks. And as always, I'm going to simplify them right down so you can apply it to your playing straight away. To start off with, we need to learn this very basic chord progression to give us something to work with. This is what it looks like. We've got a C major, a D minor, an A minor, and an F major. And by the end of the lesson, you'll be able to play something that sounds a bit more like this. So what do we actually need to learn in order to give those chords so much more emotion? Well, in this case, all we're doing is adding the 7th and 9th to the chords and playing around with the inversions. If you've never heard of 7ths or 9ths or inversions, don't worry, I'll put links to videos that explain each of those things in detail in the description. But for the purpose of this video, you don't really need to understand all of those things in detail. We're just going to get straight on with it and actually do it, rather than just talk about it. Okay, so in our chord progression, we've got 2 major triads, C and F, and 2 minor triads, D minor and A minor. Let's start by learning how to add the 7th to the major triads. It's really straightforward. All you do is play the note directly below the root note. So here's our C major. C is obviously the root note, so the 7th is this note, a half step below C. And again, in F, here's the triad. To add the 7th, we play the note directly below F. So that's how you add the 7th to the major triads. Now let's look at how to add it to the minor triads. For minor triads, the 7th is a whole step below the root note, rather than a half step. So for our D minor, to add the 7th, instead of playing the note directly below, which would be this note, we play the note that is 2 notes below. And again with our A minor, to add the 7th, we play the note a whole step below the root note. So that's the first stage of this process. Get used to playing the chords with the 7th. Once you're comfortable with that, you can move on to the second stage, which is to add the 9th to the chords. The 9th is actually easier than the 7th, because it's the same for both major and minor chords. So we only need to learn how to do one thing this time. To add the 9th, we play the note which is a whole step above the root note. So for our C chord, to add the 9th, we need to add the note which is 2 notes above C. And it's the same for our D minor chord. Add the note which is a whole step above D. The same for our A minor. and again for our F major. So if we play all the triads with the added ninth, the third and final step, which is probably going to take the longest to get the hang of, is playing inversions of the chords. If you don't know what an inversion is, it's basically just changing the order of the notes in the chord. We play exactly the same notes, but you can play them in any order and anywhere on the piano. This step will probably take the longest to get the hang of, because as well as just playing inversions, you also need to mix up whether or not the chord contains the seventh, the ninth, both of them at the same time, or neither of them. It's where you kind of get creative and kind of go exploring into all the possibilities. I'll go through this part nice and slow. Let's start with our C major, and we want to add both the seventh and the ninth to this chord. So here's the triad, here's the seventh, but if you try to add the ninth as well, you might notice you don't have enough fingers, or that you end up playing two notes with one finger. So when we're adding both the seventh and ninth, what you can actually do is just take out the root note altogether. We're already playing it in our left hand, so we don't really need it again in our right hand as well. This is what's known as a rootless voicing, for those of you interested. Moving on to our second chord, D minor. Let's do the same thing. Add the seventh and the ninth, and that would look like this. We've got the seventh here, and here's the ninth. And since we have both of them, we took out the root note. Moving on to our A minor, let's do the same thing. Add the seventh and ninth. But this time, let's change the order of the notes around. We could put this G up at the top. We've got exactly the same notes, we're just playing them in a different order. And finally for our F major, we could even do a similar thing here again. Add both the seventh and ninth. But we're going to change the order of the notes again. Let's play this E up at the top. And we could even put this G up at the top as well. So all together, we have this. So hopefully you can massively hear the difference between this and those boring triads we had to begin with. But what's cool is if you're relatively new to this whole process, which I'm guessing you are if you're this far through the video, you can literally spend hours and hours messing around with different ways of playing the chords. For each chord, you can choose whether to add the seventh, the ninth, or both of them. Once you've decided that, you can then choose what inversion to play that chord in. And there are infinite possibilities, so you won't run out of new things to play, as long as you keep experimenting and don't fall into the trap of playing the same thing over and over. What I want to do to finish off this lesson is play through the progression a few times and just mix it up with everything that we've talked about. This will hopefully give you some ideas and show you what you can actually achieve by using this technique. You can keep referring back to this if you run out of ideas and actually copy what I'm doing if you like it. Everything I play in this example will only be using what we've learned in this lesson. I might add a bit of extra rhythm here and there just to spice it up a bit. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit that little notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content, and I will see you next time.